Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's Policy Manthan discussion. So, as we all know, the topic of today's Policy Manthan discussion is vocational training for building Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, as we all know, how important vocational training is, and to simplify, vocational training basically includes any kind of industry-related training along with the studies, so that students are also exposed to the practical aspect of the learning and they're just not doing the theoretical aspect as such. So we all understand the importance of vocational training because in today's day and age, everybody wants the students or the prospective employees to be having some sort of practical training. So therefore, in today's Policy Manthan discussion, we're going to be talking about the importance of vocational training and various issues associated with vocational training. So before moving on, I would request all the speakers and all the attendees to please switch on their cameras, and that would be really helpful. And also, guys, I would request all of you to please put in your names along with the topics in the chat box so we can decide the order of the sequence. All right. So moving forward, as we have recently celebrated the Republic Day, and we all understand the importance of Mahatma Gandhi ji per se for India's independence struggle. So I think moving forward, we can start with Khushi. She will be talking about understanding Mahatma Gandhi ji's idea on vocational education. So let me just introduce our speaker. Khushi Mittal is currently pursuing Master in Economics from Ambedkar University, Delhi, and she has a passion for research and loves to teach underprivileged students in NGOs. So yeah, Khushi, you may go forward.
Good evening, everyone. So to start with, today we are at a critical juncture when it comes to reviving interest in skills and vocational training and making learning outcome-based and industry relevant. Gandhiji was the earliest proponent of technical education and linking curriculum with industry needs. Of course, the need may be different today, but the essence of making education work integrated is of prime value. Our efforts at rectifying the imbalance in our education system through empowering the potential of skilling find a deep connection with the Gandhian principles of craft centered education. Whatever we are striving for, learning by doing, work integrated learning, respect for manual skills, self reliance through sustainable livelihoods, concepts like these are deeply ingrained in the Mahatma Gandhian emphasis on manual and productive work as integral to basic education. Let's look at some of his key thoughts and ideas that have found a way in current endeavors to link education with employment and entrepreneurship through skill development. Now, some of the key thoughts to start with, the first is education through crafts. Mahatma Gandhi emphasized that handicrafts should be taught, not merely for production work, but for developing intellect of the pupils. And this idea has been implemented in schools as socially useful and productive work. It is mostly perceived as a hobby. It should be embroidery, clay modeling, bamboo crafts, leather work, pottery, and many other social, cultural, relevant, creatively stimulating activities that have a potential for enabling livelihoods. When connected with skilling and vocational options, this can transform the way children perceive manual labor and impact their young minds positively towards dignity of work and live. The second feature would be benefits of craft centered education. Craft centered education creates a balance between theory and monotonous learning through creative stimulation and self expression. It helps in reducing discrimination between manual and intellectual skills and overcoming prejudices through respect for socially meaningful work that meet the needs of the urban and rural Indians. It makes one feel proud about earning a decent livelihood through sustainable sources of income and community initiatives that result in cooperative societies and micro enterprises. Being connected with the farm and the factory would be the third key feature. Gandhiji's concept of basic education that included manual labor as a means to make education inclusive. He strongly believed in holistic curriculum, even in primary education that introduces children to work experience through agriculture, weaving, carpentry, and several other skills. This would help in balancing the danger of making education over academic or bookish and influence mindsets positively towards respect for work and dignity of skills and labor. Today, we are taking drastic measure and putting in a huge efforts in reconstructing our education landscape to meet the demands of industry and economy at large. There was much clarity half a century ago on what should be our way forward. Somewhere this got blurred as education got equated with academic excellence and theoretical knowledge, and it was not balanced with practical exposure while designing, developing, and delivering courses through major curriculum reforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kushi, for talking in detail about Mahatma Gandhiji's vision for vocational training. Because Mahatma Gandhiji has been a visionary, and he has rightly emphasized on the importance of vocational training, coupled with the importance of manual labor that he himself implemented in the various farms, be it in the Phoenix farm or in anywhere else in the Sabarmati ashram or other places where Mahatma Gandhiji went on to set up some farms. So yeah, and now moving forward, I would like to welcome Rimsha. Now Rimsha is going to be talking about the challenges which the vocational education and training in India face today. Yes, Rimsha, you may go forward.
Yeah, hello everyone. So yeah, before going ahead with the challenges, first I would like to talk a little about the vocational training, what exactly vocational training is and why are we talking about it? What is its significance? So vocational training is the instructional programs that prepare you for an occupation that requires a specialized skill. And why are we discussing it in India today? Why is it of so much significance? Now, there mainly the problem is that there has been a gap between the education and employability, the skills which are required in industry and which are being imparted to the students in the through the education system. Hence, there arise this need of vocational education and training arised. Now, coming to the challenges, the present vocational education and training system in India is facing several challenges. The first, multiplicity of regulation, certification, and curriculum. As provisions are implemented by the different department, ministries, agencies, and organizations, hence it results in overlapping of the courses and the institution, as well as cause confusion among the students and employers. The second is the public perception. In India, the vocational education is considered as a career option for the less academically qualified people. Third one, the lack of coordination among the government agencies and regulatory bodies. Skill development programs of the central government are spread across more than 20 ministries and departments without any robust coordination and monitoring mechanism to ensure the convergence. Coordination among all the members is required to create an enabling environment that may enhance the capacity, quality, and utilization. Coming to the fourth one, paucity of trainers. Availability of a good qualified teachers and trainer is another problem. Poor recruitment process of government is possible for this to some extent. The mismatch between the demand and supply at the sectoral and spatial levels. What job providers are seeking are not communicated with the training industries. Next is the narrow and often obsolete skill curricula. An updated curriculum which is relevant to the present day need of the industry is a major requirement. And the last I would be stating here is the lack of autonomy. Lack of administrative and financial autonomy and accountability is another pitfall. If the institutes are given good deal of autonomy, they will be better able to change and adjust according to the changing scenario of present day market needs. Now, coming up with few suggestions to overcome these problems. First one, I suggest that bringing all the programs under one roof could be a better way to address this problem. the entire national skill development system should be put under the single ministry or governing body rather than running them under the leadership of several other ministries. Second, I suggest that collaboration of the private sector, international development partners, and other stakeholders for better. And establishment of the good relationship with industry could also be another good step. It is required to form the strong relationship between the training institute and industry. Now this could be beneficial in two ways. Firstly, institute would get access to facilities of practical exposure to students during industrial tour, and secondly, it would encourage the private sector to direct their corporate social responsibility towards fortification of vocational education and training. And last, I believe that improving the public perception could be a good step. The vocational institutions should rebrand their vocational courses as equivalent to the conventional courses. The use of media for the enlightening of the society is necessary in order to dispel this myth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rimsha, for highlighting the challenges with respect to vocational education training. Because obviously, it is very well said that in India there is a paradoxical manpower situation. Every second or third person in India is an engineer, and then comes the doctors. But then the type of training that they lack is very minimal. I mean, we are seeing the current layoffs. I mean, they're also due to economical phenomenon as well, but not all the engineers are laid off. So that also shows that somewhere there is a lack of skill. So a lot of engineers are also unemployed. They're basically trying to get into some government job rather than being interested in their domain of knowledge. So that also clearly shows that we also have a manpower situation, paradoxical manpower. Like we have a surplus of people who are engineers, but then the kind of skills that they have are very minimal. So yes, obviously these challenges need to be taken care of. So moving forward, now I would like to welcome Kinori. She would be talking about data sets and budgetary allocation. So let me introduce our speaker. Kinori is enthusiastic about languages and international relations, and she's currently pursuing BA German in Pagisen College. So yeah, Kinori, you may go forward.
Yeah, thank you. Today I'm sitting in a car and doing it. So
we
I will
appreciate that.
Yeah. So I will begin with the fact that since this is vocational training in for building Atmanirbhar Bharat, it is imperative that essential feature of Atmanirbhar Bharat is vocational training, because that is what we expect from future, and I include us also in that. But despite the proposals given in Atmanirbhar Bharat, the reality is quite different, because in a 2020 and 2021 data, 84% of Indians between the ages of 12 to 59 did not receive any kind of vocational or technical training. And as we know, that this is the age group of the working population. And another data showed that is called the periodic labor force survey. In 2020, 2021, 84.4% of the working population had no vocational or technical training. And it was obviously worse for women as usual. And following is, I would like to talk about our budgetary allocation. It was quite bad in the 2020 financial year because of COVID. So that improved in 2022, and 1 crore, almost 1 crore was allocated for education, but the aspiration for 6% of budgetary allocation for education has not been reached yet. Only 3.1% is allocated for education. Now with the national education policy of 2020, a lot of expectations are raised for financial budgets of financial year 2023 and 2024. And few of the aspirations include, as Rimsha mentioned, a unified standardized vocational education, which is also at par with the global standards. And also the provision for strengthening the National Council for Vocational Education and Training, and the integration of polytechnics and degree granting institutions. Here I would like to give an example of those who stay in Pune would know a huge group of schools called symbiosis schools are established here, and they have established a new university called Symbiosis School of Skills and Professional University. So such universities should be established more. And also, to build on Rimsha's point about public perception, recently I did an assignment about the education situation in Germany, and they put a lot of focus on vocational training, and they have separate schools, and those students who are not very much into academics go into these schools and become more employable. So we should take on what Germany has done, and change the public perception that vocational training is no less than normal academic degrees. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kinori. Yeah, obviously, I mean, I remember while I was doing my undergraduate in history, so we had something with respect to Germany, so wherein we studied about how they've also developed so many institutes, especially for vocational training. So they emphasize a lot on vocational training. And not just Germany, I remember like last week we had a session with Ramesh Vadoni sir, wherein he talked about how in US schools, students from like grade 3, 4 onwards are taught Python and stuff. And in India, like the current NEP talked about, and that is still under implementation. So, I mean, there is a lag which can be very evidently
Yeah, we
seen.
can say that the skill-based learning, I mean, Indian education system is known for the mugging up. So I think that needs to be changed. And instead,
Yes.
skill-based learning has to be put, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now moving forward, I think as we were talking about layoffs a while ago, so maybe I can welcome Kirti. She will be talking about vocational education training help against layoffs. So let me introduce Kirti. Kirti Chandra is a master's student at the Manchester University for the course Modern and Contemporary Literature. She's particularly interested in rhetorics, and she has a problem solving approach and an eye for fundamental problems. So yeah, Kirti, you may go forward.
Thank you, Purva. So, as you just said, that I'll be discussing that can vocational educational training help against layoffs. There's this misconception that I have often come across, and I would like to bring it under limelight. So, vocational training is actually a type of training that prepares a learner for industrial or commercial employment. This is like the very basic definition of it. So, what I'll be mainly focusing on is that vocational training imparted by a formal institute, and who decides that these institutions are capable of providing such a training. In India, there are entities like NCVET, which is National Council for Vocational Training, which comes under MSDE, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So, but all of this is mainly under Atmanirbhar Bharat, as we have been talking about it again and again. Now, moving forward, uh, vocational and technical training or vocational educational training is known to bridge the employability gap, as we talk about it again and again. But that is under normal circumstances and under perfect implementation, which also is a problem, as a few of us probably have already discussed, that there has not been so much awareness about the vocational education and how it is different from the academic one. Now, but that's once again, I would stress that that's under normal circumstances, but there are extraordinary circumstances too. For example, the Economic Times revealed that labor market shrunk by 2.1 million in 2022. But how did that come to? So it was during COVID-19, and afterwards we have witnessed Russia-Ukraine war as well. It was induced, it actually induced an economic decline. Supply chains were disrupted. I'll digress a bit, but I'll come to point once again. Supply chains were disrupted, interest rates were readjusted, and there was a volatility in the market. Fuel prices rose, and there was inflation, which picked up pace. As we know that we are India as a country witnessed economic growth, but it was mainly driven by the service sector. It was not driven by manufacturing sector in the many other countries, like in many other countries. And even in the service sector, it's dominated by the IT sector in particular. Now, Now, we have been focusing, like just I mentioned, that vocational educational training has also been synonymously identified in India as vocational and technical training. So we focus a lot on IT industry, right? And we believe that somehow vocational educational training under Atmanirbhar Bharat can make India so Atmanirbhar that layoffs, which we are encountering as the US based companies like Amazon, this and that, are laying off a mass of people one after the other, can be prevented when VET, vocational education training under Atmanirbhar Bharat, can somehow be compatible with the Indian firms. But I would like to give you some narratives of the Indian based companies like eBalaji Services. What do they say? They say that Indian companies are sort of not so open to layoffs because US firms have this liberty, but Indian market is not liquid and labor laws are stringent in India. This is why Indian companies fear the loss of reputation, and thus there is no layoff. So it has nothing to do with the integrity of between uh, the integrity or compatibility between vocational educational training and the Indian companies. It's nothing like that. It's about the market, which is stringent, and the labor laws are not so liquid as it is in US. Now the IT sector is suffering all around the world, and how are Indian IT sector companies are dealing with it. So there comes the concept of the utilization of labor in the companies is declining. It means that they aren't working on active projects. The employees who are still there and have not been laid off are not working on the active projects. For example, Infosys utilization declined by 7.5% from September 2021 to December 2022. That's approximately 22,500 people from 3 lakh manpower base of Infosys who just came to bench and were no more working on active projects. And these people are not earning the revenue of billable projects. And not only Infosys, but TCS, Wipro are suffering with the same problem. And these are the Indian firms who are very known and established. Now, can startups afford to remain afloat in such an extraordinary circumstances? Not again. These need to be infused with funds and incentives constantly by the help of the government. So, all I wanted to elaborate through this is that the misconception that we somehow make uh, uh, this vocational educational training under Atmanirbhar Bharat very much compatible with Indian firms and preventing as a defense against, I mean, acting as a defense against layoffs by the US based companies is more or less a misconception. It can't help layoffs because it's under a broad, globalization that I mean, the entire concept of layoffs is driven by globalization, and I don't think Atmanirbhar Bharat will actually be somehow beneficial to that. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kirti, for bringing in different perspective to the discussion. So obviously from one standpoint, obviously what you said is correct, but thinking from another standpoint, if I may say, from Atmanirbhar Bharat, maybe if the government focuses on providing funds, as you rightly said, providing funds to startups and building in a proper ecosystem, giving in the opportunities for Indian companies to mushroom further. So maybe they're more open, like people in India would not have to migrate to other countries per se, to US and other countries for seeking employment. And if they have employment opportunities at home, which are like on par with the global opportunities, so they would not have to move abroad. So maybe in that sense, maybe focusing on Atmanirbhar Bharat may help. But yeah, like we'll have to wait for that to happen. So now moving forward, I will call upon Chandralekha. She will be talking about way forward and suggestions. So let me introduce the speaker. Chandralekha is pursuing her degree in political science in Pune University. She has her interest in dancing and reading contemporary social issues book. She has a good decision-making ability. So yeah, Chandralekha, you may go forward.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So today I'm talking about some suggestions and way forward. So according to the 12th 5-year plan, the age group between 19 to 24 population in India received less than 5% of vocational education. While writing an article about education system in South Korea, there I found that South Korea has the highest percentage of youth in the world who receive vocational education. But fortunately, from 2016 onwards, India also focused on vocational education and training with schemes like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, capacity building schemes, or Sankal, but I think with less impressions as such. So today I have drawn 5 suggestions from my side. So now forwarding. First suggestion is curriculum level. First suggestions from my side is that there should be no hard separation between vocational education and academic streams. And for this ecosystem, there should be a better infrastructure, trainers with advanced or moderate skills, and training to teachers is also very important. Then skills like carpentry or electrical fitting can be made part of physics at higher secondary education level. Second one is many teachers point out that vocational education in this country is pursued as a last resort when students are unable to obtain seats in degree programs or professional courses. The first step towards reimagining vocational education here would be to break this myth. So teachers should emphasize on the point that the vocational education is a lifelong learning. I think when teachers begin to value vocational education as a dignified pathway, they are more likely to encourage it for all their students, irrespective of their abilities or social background. And for this to happen, it is important to address the biases regarding the vocational education, as well as those around gender, caste, or class. So I'm talking about gender, caste, and class. So I have 2 instances about this. The first one is that we often see that kids, mainly boys, playing with cars or tinkering it or repairing it. And we always think that this is only for boys. But I think if a girl is interested in tinkering with electrical gadgets or mechanical appliances, then we always say that, is that a girl's job? So I think this is the first step towards reimagining vocational education at family level or household level. Second instance is that in our country, vocational education is perceived only as an option for students from the lower state of society who are less academically able. So an education that makes electricians, mechanics, filters, turners, beauticians is not considered worthy. So I think private stakeholder, public stakeholder in our education system should encourage more employment in blue collar jobs and not only in white collar jobs. Then another solution from my side is that mapping of jobs in the local economy. So we are seeing that current trends in vocational education is green jobs or healthcare jobs, care works, and services. So what does it mean that mapping of jobs in the local economy? So I have divided India, our country, in 3 parts. First one is northeastern states, second one is central India, and third one is southern India. So first of all, I'll talking about northeastern states. We know that handloom industry, handicrafts, and food products are the most vibrant and visible small businesses ideas on which our young brigaders, with an aim to preserve such a rich tradition, and passionate entrepreneurs also can start their startups by promoting local products across the so-called mainland of our country. There are organizations also they're working. So first one is Jizira. It is operated in Shillong, Meghalaya. It offers herbs, spices, and honey across our country. Second one is Runway Nagaland. It is a small institution which is run by all women artisan team. Then talking about Central India, there are so many opportunities for small businesses like event planner. So we know that there are so many big or huge wedding in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar. So I think event planner is the best opportunity for youths. Second one is affiliate marketing, then photography business, and poultry farming also is there. And if we look at southern Indian part, there is a coastal area. So aquarium and pet shop is the best opportunity for youths. Second one is arts and crafts. Then Ayurvedic herbal products is also there. And flower decorators or gardening. These are so many opportunities for southern India also. Then last suggestion from my side is that the media's role. So I think media needs to comprehensively cover the positive impact of vocational training on students and the country. Therefore, many students don't feel hesitate or shy while choosing any industrial training institute that we call as ITIs. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anjalika. Yes, as you rightly said that many a times vocational training in our society is considered as optional for students who are maybe weak at studies, or maybe that failed at end standard, or maybe they don't want to study further, and or in another scenario they do not have proper funds and awareness about further education, so they end up choosing ITIs, and it is oftentimes looked down upon because people feel that the students or the children, they're not interested in studies, and so ITIs do not require much of brains or much of concentration sort of, or much of efforts from the student side, so that is why they are enrolled in ITIs. But maybe what if actually they are interested in those crafts, etc. So yes, I think obviously we need to change the perception about vocational training in that respect. So yeah, moving forward, if anybody has any unique points to just raise, maybe not just talk about any particular aspect. So maybe you may go forward. I mean, just raise your hand and just let me know. Or maybe I would just cold call some people. Yes, I think Pankaj has some interesting points to make. Yes, Pankaj.
Yeah, I just want to make the Kirti point that she said that like technical layoffs, she talked about it. So I just want to share that like we have seen that like in the USA, and mostly the companies from the USA, they have been laying off, and I think 30% of Indian people, they have laid off in the US, and these peoples are high skill engineers. So you can think that like we are emphasizing more on the vocational training. So even these peoples are not being spared of about losing the job is concerned. So I think that I think what we can do it like it's just my speculation that after 30 year or 40 year down the line, and there would be a fewer and fewer job would be available, because all the work would be done by the machines. Because you can see that like in the banking industry and in each sector of the economy, there is the work has been digitized and the robots are doing the work. So after 30 or 40 year down the line, we will be seeing that there would be a fewer and fewer job, and I think the concept of UBI will come into play. That is a universal basic income. Like each and every household will get a some amount of money, which has already been seen in the USA, where during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen that the Joe Biden administration, they have given a 1.9 trillion package, and that package was given to all the household people. So I think that it will be seen in the future or the upcoming years. But yeah, like we should emphasize on the vocational training. And other than that, I just want to share about the Elon Musk model of like how he has how he had imparted the training, or how he's using the model of education in his company. Like there are certain employee of Tesla, SpaceX, and other of his company who had formed the school name is called the Ad Astra School. It is a school name which had formed, and what they have been taught there, like they do not taught they are not imparting the knowledge with information or flirting with the information. They are imparting the knowledge with questioning the problem. Like if there is a set of problems there, so what they do it, they try to they try to question the student that what will happen regarding that problem if there is a problem. So like the kids will help to answer that problem. They'll come out with some kind of solutions. So I think this will help to increase the critical thinking power of that particular individuals. So yeah, by asking the question, by like some of the points were like asking the question. If the kids were asked the questions, they'll answer it. So and like he has just given an example of like the way, if we just talk about an example of screwdriver and wrenches, if you want to teach like like how we can fit into play the screwdriver and wrenches in the school. So the traditional way of teaching it, to just with the help of like books, we can teach it. And the other model is that with the help of directly observing, like directly putting the kids to the factory and observing that using those screwdriver and wrenches. I think these kind of things will help to actually make their mind workable, and they don't have to cram all these things, because they will learn automatically, I mean to say that. So I think these are the things which he has mentioned it. So yeah, I just want to say.
Yes, thank you, Pankaj, for bringing in interesting insights. So yes, as you rightly said, obviously Elon Musk model is very famous, and also like it is said that he does not send his own child to regular school. So obviously he's been training his own children through different types of by imparting education in a different way, by more of a practical approach. So that obviously is very important, because in Indian schools, as somebody pointed out, that very often marks are more important, and the students they just wrote memorize everything, the concept, and like people jokingly say that they've forgotten everything just after writing their exam. So I mean that education does not hold any importance. So it is very important for students to be exposed to practical set of learning, so that they remember like things for a very longer point of time. For example, if you want to learn Excel, if somebody just tells you, okay, you can do this, understand, until you practice itself on Excel sheet, you won't learn anything. So yeah, practical education becomes very important in that sense. So moving forward, I think Sambhavi has some interesting observation to make. Yes, Sambhavi, you may go forward.
Um, Actually, I'm sorry, I won't be able to switch on my camera. I'm facing quite a lot of connectivity issues.
Yeah, that's all right.
But what I feel about the national education policy, what is the fundamental problem which arises? What is the fundamental problem which arises due to in the vocational education is that there is a lack of teachers in the vocational education institutes itself, vocational education training centers itself. Because of that, because like the teachers themselves are because of that the teachers themselves are not trained, and they don't find much job prospects, because there is a general lack of there's a general distrust when it comes to vocational education, because there is a lot of research has shown that actually the employability of people who have got trained in have got general education, because vocational education in India is actually a substitute for secondary general education, senior secondary general education. So in that way, the NEP has aimed to integrate the two of them. uh, it is considering like it is a good move that is education, and that's what I actually would like to present with, yeah, I have a lot of connected. Can you hear me? I mean, like, I'm not able
Yes,
to.
your voice is breaking in between, but it's fine now. You may continue. I mean, if we have any problem, we'll let you know. Yeah, Sambhavi, is it fine from your end? I think she's facing some issue, but not really sure what she was up to. I mean, I could just make in some points here and there. So if somebody has any other points to make in, please raise your hands. Or if Sambhavi, your internet issue is solved, so maybe, yeah, I think she's gone. So yeah, somebody else, some interesting observation to make, or maybe some anecdotes from your own life, or something which you might have read here and there. I don't see anybody. So yeah, does anybody has anything else to say? No, right? Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, like Kinnori had mentioned the symbiosis skill, like something like that. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't.
Symbiosis Group of Institutes.
Yeah, so could you just throw some light on that, like what is in that?
I'll just ask Kinori to maybe just elaborate on that further. Yeah, Kinori, if you're there, so please you may elaborate on that. I think she's not here.
Okay, is it not?
So I think what she basically meant was basically these Symbiosis Institutes of Deemed University, they have like sort of established one particular college maybe to to inculcate vocational training of sorts. Not very sure about that. I mean, if somebody's from Pune and if they have some idea about it, so maybe they can elaborate further. Chandrelekha, do you have any idea about that?
No, sorry. I don't have an idea.
All right. So maybe we can ask Inori to further, elaborate next time. Anybody else? Guys? Or should I cold call just people? Swarali, would you want? Sorry? Who was that? I couldn't hear you. Yeah. Okay. So Swarali, do you have something to add in?
Uh, I thought of the challenges and solution, but most of the points were covered by Chandralekha and Jimisha. But I think nobody has covered the Gandhian scheme of vocational training. So I'd like to tell something about that. So Gandhi's scheme for vocational training in the education is considered as the first blueprint of national education. So Gandhi believed that education is not only related to your head, but it also related to your heart and hand. So he emphasized on crafts and vocational training. And even when he was in South Africa in his Tolstoy farm, he made compulsory for all the residents there to participate in course like a different course. So many of the students in Tolstoy farm knew cooking, carpentry, or shoemaking, or other such skills. So Gandhi wanted the knowledge which the students will learn. It must be related to activity and practical experience also. And so that will make a child more social minded and cooperative and will have the societal values ingrained in it. So the promotion of vocational training in India has been since a long way back, but then there are some challenges in it that the vocational training provided and the vocational education provided, that there is a lack of coordination between them. So MSD, that is the Ministry of Social Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, it provides vocational training, vocational education, that is the theoretical knowledge which we memorize, and MHRD provides vocational training, that is the hands-on application and the skill development. But there is a lack of coordination between both of their syllabus, and there is no national standard also. And so this silosis leads to an irrelevance of courses which are being taught and the actual industry needs. So there is a huge gap between them. Yeah, that is the challenges I found.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, Khushi talked a bit about Mahatma Gandhiji's vision of vocational training, but yeah, also like as you've mentioned that Mahatma Gandhiji in his farm itself, in Phoenix Farm or Tolstoy Farm, or even here in India, he emphasized a lot on the importance of vocational training and also on the importance of manual labor. As a lot of times manual labor is looked down upon, so Mahatma Gandhiji used to very strictly emphasize on the idea of manual labor in the people over in his farm. So yeah. Moving forward, does anybody has something else to add on? Anybody? Adina, do you have something else to add on? I mean, if you have, maybe you can speak on.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
I just want to I would emphasize on I had a part to speak, but everybody has covered, so it would have been a repetition. So I didn't.
No, that's okay. I mean, maybe some sentence would have been a little add-on to what others have said, so that really does not matter
So I
if it
think
is overlap.
concluding part, I would be saying what Mahatma Gandhi ji had imagined for a India and a country after 75 years of independence. So rather than just having a education where only emphasis is put on the theoretical part, we can have, like Gandhiji had a concept of bread labor. You work, you work for your bread. That's not like there must be equal distribution of resources, and you can also like focus more on the skill part. So I have this I read one of the books of Abdul Kalam where he said that he imagined a society of India of 2020 where students, when they pass out, they must be having a certificate of the college, like whatever the degree they had, and a skill certificate. So just imagine if after 10th standard we have a certificate of a skill and also the degree. Similarly in 12th standard, so we can have in the college years or the senior college, we can have a complete year for skill training. So this can value add, because what happens is we know the things, but applying that in real life, that is the context. So that is how it works. And also I would like to think is the pedagogy of teaching in schools that can be changed. For example, we have lot many schemes, like we have midday meal scheme, then lots of things are being done by the government. But just imagine if there is a school which has all the, like it is so holistic that it has, for example, if you are teaching maths and you give seeds to all the children and ask them to plant. So similarly, directly active and engaging kind of thing. So and you can also have a laboratory for the students so that they are very much intrigued to come to school. They don't need schemes to come to school, but the school itself is like a miracle for them, just like lots of things, something amusing them, and the style of teaching can be such that they have interest in that. So that is what I would like to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, if students are exposed to more practical sort of educational system, so they retain things faster and for a very long period of time, just than teaching them through theoretical sort of knowledge. So yes, if anybody else has something else to add on, so maybe we would just add on the concluding part of it. So then we may just close this session for today. I think nobody has anything else to say. So yeah, thank you everybody